Welcome to Magic Hour. I'm your host, Paul Chappell. And guys, I've had a horrible week. I had some dental surgery, so if you see my cheek kind of swollen or frozen or whatever, I'm not having a stroke. It's just dental surgery. Don't worry about it. But I had a chance to watch the film The Witches, and it was a good entry for HBO Max. HBO Max, more of this. I think this service will be successful if they continue in this vein. This was an adaptation of a book with the same name by Roald Dahl. Sorry if I mispronounced that name. This movie came out in 1983 and it was already adapted into a movie starring Angelica Houston. I haven't seen that version. It came out in 1990. So if you want an analysis of how this new film contrast with the older film, I can't help you with that. All I can do is give you an assessment of what this film does. So you're going to get my unvarnished opinion on this film. I do know a little bit about the old film, but I haven't seen it. So let's get into the plot a little bit. This movie stars Octavia Spenser as a grandmother who takes in her grandson after his parents die in an automobile accident. It happens in Alabama. Now, right here, this is the biggest change from the novel. In the novel, it's a kid in the United Kingdom. His parents die. He moves to Norway to be with his grandmother. So that's the one big change they made with this movie, because it was co-written by Kenya Barris of Blackish fame. So it had a kind of black theme for the setting, 1968, Alabama. This movie was directed by Robert Zemeckis. So let me warn you right now, Robert Zemeckis is probably my favorite filmmaker. I mean, arguably, he's got to be in my top 5. I mean, if you ask me whose movies I would take with me on a desert island, it would probably be a toss-up between Spielberg, Robert Zemeckis, Martin Scorsese. So know that going in, that I kind of have a bias for Robert Zemeckis, but I will try not to let that influence my review of this film. So this movie is basically about witches, and Octavia Spenser's character is she's kind of a witch hunter. She's seen a childhood friend get turned into an animal by a witch. And when her grandson has an encounter with a witch at a convenience store, they leave and go to this grand hotel by the ocean to get away from the witches. Little do they know that all the witches in North America are convening in this one grand hotel to have their annual convention. So hijinks ensue from there. I won't reveal anymore. I don't want to spoil anything. Let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. What was the good in this film? Well, this movie had a great performance by Anne Hathaway as the Grand High Witch. It was over the top, chewing scenery. She just was great in every aspect of her portrayal. It was very appropriate for this type of movie because, of course, this is a kid's movie, so over the top is good. Also, Octavia Spenser she's just becoming this just marquee name ever since she starred in The Help. And she was really the emotional center of this movie, and I really enjoyed her performance. So we got 2 great performances in this movie. The other good thing I would say is that the witches are very scary. I mean, even as an adult, I was a little put off by them, and I was really concerned about this little boy played by Jahzir Bruno, and he really doesn't have a name. He was called Hero Boy, and Octavia Spenser doesn't even have a name, really. No one really has names in this movie, and I think that's consistent with the book. But yeah, the witches were very scary. The performances were good. So let's get to the bad. My primary problem with this movie, and it was the result of them adapting the book so closely, is the fact that the first half of the movie, or I would say the first 30 minutes of the movie, felt like a different film than what we got. and I was waiting for this payoff because they start the movie in, the South during segregation, or when segregation was about ending, 1968. And I just felt like we were going to get more insight into how all these witches infiltrated the South or something. I just thought there was be a bigger theme or idea as to why they decided to put it in Alabama rather than the United Kingdom. And we never really got that payoff. It turned into this completely different movie when we got to the hotel. So that was my first real problem with it. My other problem is that, getting back to the witches being scary, that's good and it's bad, because if you got children watching this movie, if they're of a certain age, if they're under 6 years old, they might go to bed with nightmares after watching this film. So know that going in if you're a parent. But I think the older children get, of course, they're going to, they probably even like the fact that it has scary witches, because kids like to be scared. So that's all I would say about that. The ugly of this film was the fact that they took such a cavalier attitude toward death. And what I mean by that is, in the novel and this remake, the kid gets, okay, there's a big spoiler here. So if you don't want to know anything about the ending, just go ahead and turn this off and go watch the movie. But I just have to warn you, the kid gets turned into a mouse. And the natural thing for me would be, hey, this kid's going to get turned back into human form at some point in the story, right? And that's what they did in the 1990 version. But no, they don't do this. They pretty much follow the book, and the kid stays a mouse. Now, the problem with staying a mouse is that the grandmother says mice don't live long. And even though you're not a typical mouse, you'll only probably live about 9 years. They actually say this. And I was really put off by that, because I don't really think kids should have to confront death at an early age. I think that's something they should maybe learn about in their teenage years. So I was kind of disturbed that they took such an upfront position on death. And the fact that the kid even says, oh yeah, I want to stay a mouse so I can die with you, Grandma. I'm like, really? Did they just say that? Did that kid just say that he wants to die with his grandmother? So yeah, that put me off in a big way. So just know that going in. If you don't want your kids learning about death, or, even thinking about death, this is probably not the movie for them. But overall, I would give this movie about a 3.5 out of 5, maybe even a 4. It was a pretty good movie for kids. It was a little bit long. I thought they could have kind of trimmed maybe about, 20 minutes off the film, and it would have been fine. But like I said, it's a great entry for HBO Max, and I hope they do more like this. And we'll see what happens when the Snyder Cut comes out on HBO Max. I might actually become a subscriber. But that's all I got for today. I'd like to thank my subscribers and encourage you to subscribe. Give me a like, comment down below. Let me know what you thought of this review. Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? Let me know in the comments. And I will see you when I see you. Thanks for watching.